Hello and welcome to the Voice of TOD. I'm Tom, and today we're going to be taking a look at Henry Cavill's potential next big role. We're over here on Yahoo, link in the description below if you want to check it out as well. Let's just get straight into it. Henry Cavill to roll the dice on Warhammer 40,000 series. I think they're trying to be cute. We'll run through the article, then I'll give you my thoughts and what I potentially think is happening here. The post Henry Cavill to roll the dice on Warhammer 40,000 series first appeared on Consequence, which is another website. Yes, it is. This is an odd, short. It's short, but this is a really odd worded article. But we'll run through it and then I'll do my bit. Gallons of milk and State Fair goldfish are not known for longevity, but even they last longer than Henry Cavill's latest period of unemployment. What? The former Superman and The Witcher star has lined up his next project, according to The Hollywood Reporter, as Amazon Prime Video is in the final stages of negotiations for the rights to an adaptation of the popular tabletop strategy game Warhammer 40,000. Cavill left The Witcher at the end of October to return as Superman, but his tenure as the Man of Steel abruptly ended December 14th, with new DC head James Gunn announced plans for a fresh origin story. I'm going to come back to that as well. While the deal for Warhammer 40,000 has not been finalised, Cavill is known to be a Warhammer fan and is expected to anchor Prime Video's series. Warhammer 40,000 is set in the distant future, obviously. The game is played with painted miniatures on tabletop boards with dice, but skews closer to StarCraft or Command & Conquer than Dungeons & Dragons. Players maneuver their armies in combat, relying on different abilities for factions, such as Space Marines, Necrons, Tyranids, Tau, and more. If this doesn't pique your interest, you've not really sold it well. In the potentials of serialized storytelling, the lore is also full of gods, demons, far-off worlds, and science fiction wizardry. No directors or writers are attached, and Cavill will undoubtedly be booked elsewhere before Warhammer 40,000 marches into our homes. But Prime Video seems poised to make the next billion-dollar series, and Cavill likely to be its face. I'll touch on that as well. Right, so the first bit I want to touch on is basically what Cavill's done since October. So October, it was announced that he was leaving The Witcher. Season 3 will be his final as Geralt, and he has been replaced. I don't want to talk about the replacement because I think it's going to be utter shit. I'm not surprised that Cavill has left. He has openly had disagreements with the way that they have dealt with Geralt and certain parts of the story. He is a big gamer. PC, tabletop, Warhammer, The Witcher, World of Warcraft. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to this stuff. And I'm not surprised that he has parted. We don't know why, or I haven't seen a story saying why. We don't know why he parted company with The Witcher, but part of that will be because he was going to be Superman again in Man of Steel 2, a sequel that should have happened 10 years ago. James Gunn and I, again, as big as a fan I am of Cavill, I'm also that big a fan of James Gunn. I love 95% of James Gunn's movies, let's say. I've been a fan of his for years. I love his vision, and I just think he's one of the more interesting and fun directors to watch a film from in current Hollywood. Another Superman origin story is not what DC needs. I'm sick of origin stories for superheroes where we've had origin stories every 3 years. It's just boring. If you want to do Superman without Henry Cavill, fine, but don't make it another origin story. The whole DC thing is something else entirely, and I'm getting off track. Let's go back to this Warhammer 40,000 TV show. You don't just get the rights for an adaptation of the popular strategy game Warhammer 40,000. There's so much in the Warhammer 40,000 lore, and I don't know much. I know bits. I like what I know, but it's a universe that's been around for almost 40 years. There's writings, lore going back almost that long. It's huge. I'd argue it's bigger than the lore of Star Wars. Certainly now that Disney culled the all the storybooks and things before the merger, when Disney bought them. But it's just It's massive. There's so much. There is literally thousands of years of lore in, big, grand detail going right down into the minutiae of what certain things were going on at a certain time. There's so much that you could do. I would love, and Games Workshop are very touchy with the rights to their products. There was a big thing about fan animations and fan movies and projects that Games Workshop unceremoniously just culled overnight, basically, on YouTube a couple of years ago. And there's some incredible fan animations of this stuff. Everybody will have seen a Space Marine. That there, the blue guy is a Space Marine. Everybody will have seen them at some point. But there's so much more to it than that. There's so much more to it than just gods, demons, far-off worlds and science fiction wizardry. And I think if Amazon are going in for this, for, as the article says, the next $1 billion series, which is a hell of a lot of money to pump into something like this. Of course you want Cavill, because he is probably the most famous fan of Warhammer 40,000, and he's an incredibly talented actor. But you also need the right story to do it. For me, that story is Dan Abnett's Eisenhorn trilogy. I think Cavill would be fantastic as Eisenhorn. I think, having read them recently, or had the audible of the first 3 books, it's such an incredibly well written, articulate world with this huge epic scale. The easiest way that I can sort of sell Eisenhorn to you is think James Bond with a group of people in a weird gothic sci-fi setting. That's basically it, and the second book is just incredible. That would be the way to sell Warhammer 40,000 to the vast majority of people who won't know what it is. And probably 95% of Prime subscribers won't know what the hell Warhammer 40,000 is. They know who Henry Cavill is, and they'll probably give anything with him in a go. So this is a good get if Amazon can do this. You need the right people, and if you are going to do something like Eisenhorn, which, that's my personal opinion, there are so many more books and so many other people more versed in that stuff than I am. But if you want to do that, you also want to get the writers of these characters involved. You want to get Games Workshop involved. It's going to be a big collaboration between these companies. It's the only way it's going to work. You can't just throw $1 billion at a franchise. But while this is exciting, and obviously something that Henry Cavill would love to do, and something that has been in the works, maybe not with Amazon, but certainly Games Workshop have been shopping the idea of a Warhammer TV series around for quite a few years. I'll tell you what I'd love to see. And he's not my choice, but he has been linked with it in the past. And now is the time. The Expanse is finished. Get those guys back. Put Henry Cavill in because it will sell it. And I think he'd do a good job, even though he isn't my choice. But it's time for a Mass Effect TV show. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.